What's up? I'm Pamela. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have yet another Scream theory for you guys. But before we get into it, please don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future posts. And please also go follow me over on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's get into it. So today's theory that I have for you guys is, do you think that Jill Roberts and Charlie Walker from Scream 4 were a part of Stu Macher's cult? If you're new here, I am a Stu believer. I believe that Stu Macher is alive and will return in Scream 7. I think they've been planting the seeds in these new Scream movies, Scream 5 and Scream 6. There's a ton of Easter eggs. I did a video here on my channel called 50 Stu Clues, pointing out all the clues that Stu Macher is alive. So if you have not seen that video yet, definitely go check it out. I will link it down below in the description. So if you don't already know, the original plan for Scream 3 was going to be Stu Macher returning and leading a cult of ghost faces. I believe that it was going to be like the next generation of Woodsboro High students. Obviously, they decided to scrap that idea, but I think that certain elements of that kind of leaked into Scream 4 and found its way into the story for Scream 4. Because obviously in Scream 4, they take us back to Woodsboro High with Jill, Kirby, Charlie, Olivia, Robbie Mercer. We have Charlie leading the cinema club, which, could have been Stu's cult if they decided to go that way. Because we know that Stu is a huge fan of scary movies, as was Charlie. And Charlie even mentions Stu at the end. So obviously, Charlie idolized Stu, drew inspiration from him. So what if Charlie was a part of Stu's cult? Nerdbox here on YouTube has a great series of videos called Stu's Clues. If you're not subscribed to Nerdbox, definitely go check out their channel. They have a bunch of great Scream content and other horror movies. But they have a series of Stu Clues videos where they point out Stu clues in every single Scream movie. They have a theory that Stu was present in the background of every Scream movie. And just a few of those Stu clues that they point out, there is a deleted scene in Scream 4 where they show Marnie Cooper hanging from a ceiling fan, and that is meant to mirror Casey Becker from the opening scene of the first movie. And Nerdbox wonders, was that just like drawing inspiration from Stu, or was that Stu himself? They also point out the scene where, that stuff is found in Sydney's car trunk, all like the photos of her covered in blood and the knife. So we know that Jill didn't do that because she is seen at home being picked up by Kirby for school. And then the very next scene, we see Charlie already at school, which kind of implies that he was there already. Like, when did he have the chance to set that stuff up in Sydney's trunk? So was there a third accomplice? Was Stu the one who put that stuff in Sydney's trunk? I really like the idea that Stu has been in the shadows for every Scream movie. And I do hope that when he comes back in Scream 7, they kind of reveal that. And now I kind of want to segue into another theory that I have, which I have talked about before on my channel. The theory that Dewey Riley knew that Stu Macher was still alive. So the general theory for Stu is that he faked his death and the police helped to cover it up. Stu's parents clearly had money. Look at their house. So it's very possible that they could have paid off the police in this small town to help keep their son safe and cover up his involvement. And if the police do know that Stu's alive, Dewey Riley was part of the police. Now, Sheriff Burke from the first Scream movie was pretty shady throughout the entire movie. Obviously, he's like a little bit of a red herring, but he could have been friends with the Machers. Like I said, it's a small town, and Stu's parents had money, and just like Gail says in Scream 6, cops like money. And something that I noticed in the first Scream movie, during the final act, when Sydney's hiding out in the police car, she goes over the walkie-talkie and makes a call to the police and says, I'm at 261 Turner Lane, Stu Macher's house. He's trying to kill me.
Hello, help me please. I'm at Stu Macher's house on Turner Lane. It's 261 Turner Lane, please. He's gonna try and kill me.
And the way that she phrases that makes it sound like Stu's the killer and he's trying to kill me. She said, I'm at Stu Macher's house. He's trying to kill me. And then the police don't show up for a long time. A lot of different things happen between that call to the police to when the police actually show up. So what if the police and Sheriff Burke heard that call, Stu Macher's trying to kill me, and what if Sheriff Burke, who is friends with the Macher parents, called them while they're away on vacation and said, do you know what your son is up to right now? He's killing people. And what if they said, oh my God, you have to help us. Please, we'll give you money, we'll pay you. Please just help him get out of this situation. He's a good kid. I'm sure he just fell in with the wrong crowd. Who knows? Like I said, so much time passes between the call to the police and when they actually show up. So there was more than enough time for Sheriff Burke to reach out to the Macher parents and work out a plan with them. Because really, why did it take them so long to get there? Think about everything that happens. All of that happens before the police actually show up. So Dewey, as part of the police, what if he was sworn to secrecy? Because he does take his job seriously and he loves Woodsboro. So what if he was sworn to secrecy? And then in Scream 2, this would explain why he shows up to Sydney's school so quickly. As soon as he hears the news about a new Ghostface attack, he hops on a plane and shows up to be by Sydney's side. What if that's because he thought that it was Stu killing again and coming after Sydney? So he wanted to be there to protect her. Even in Scream 2, there are quite a few clues that point towards Stu being alive. When Sydney and Cotton are talking in the library and the police come to take Cotton away, he says, I'm not Billy Loomis. You killed him, remember? Cotton never says anything about Stu. And then at the end of the second movie, Sydney says to Mickey, you're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. I killed him. Once again, doesn't say anything about Stu. Two different characters establish that Sydney killed Billy, but never mentioned Stu. And I do think that's because, at the time, the plan was still to bring Stu back in Scream 3. And now I gotta bring up the major clue in Scream 5. Dewey mentions Stu in the present tense. Liv, Chad's girlfriend, asks, who's Stu Macher? Which I find ridiculous because 1, you live in Woodsboro, and 2, you dated his nephew, Vince. So again, I think the fact that Liv seems to not even know who Stu is yet another example of how Stu kind of gets erased from the story, which I think is what his parents essentially paid the police to do. Cover up his death, cover up his involvement as much as you can. Because let's not forget, also in Scream 5's opening, Tara forgets about Stu. She says that Billy is the killer in Stab. And Ghostface on the phone seems to be a little annoyed at this. Because once again, he's getting erased from the story. And Stu is forgotten.
The correct answer is Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. There are 2 killers in the original Stab.
So getting back to Liv, she asks, who's Stu Macher? And Dewey replies, he's Billy Loomis's accomplice, a real Looney Tune.
He's Billy Loomis's accomplice, a real Looney Tune.
Oh, notice how it's in the present tense. Dewey says he is Billy Loomis's accomplice, rather than he was. I think this is a major clue right there, and even David Arquette himself has talked about it at a fan convention. David Arquette said something about it like, yes, I think Stu's alive. I referred to him in the present tense.
Yes, Stu is still alive. Like you say in the last Scream, he's a real loony bin.
Dewey knowing about Stu for all these decades could make sense, and it could explain why he seems to be having such a tough time in Scream 5. We know that he lost his job as sheriff. He was asked to step down. Could it be because he couldn't handle the guilt of keeping this secret and the pressure? And this could also explain why he could never make things work with Gail. You know, every Scream movie they have issues, and then in Scream 5 we find out that he left in the middle of the night because he couldn't hack it in New York. What if he could never make it work with Gail because he couldn't handle the guilt of keeping the secret and not telling her? I mean, think about it. If you were married to someone and sharing a life and a home with someone and had to keep this major secret from them, how could you really live with yourself? How could you face them every day if you were keeping this major secret? And now Dewey's guilt from keeping this secret could also explain why he turns to alcohol. We see in Scream 5 that he's drinking liquor early in the morning, like 7:30 in the morning, putting liquor in his coffee when he's watching Gail's morning show. And then I think Richie makes a reference later on, like, that he's drunk. Or Wes Hicks actually says something like he climbed into a bottle. But this is all starting to make sense. Couldn't keep his job, couldn't keep his relationship, and turned to alcohol because of the massive guilt. So this brings me to my idea for Scream 7. I have been saying many times on my channel here that I want to see a flashback of Dewey, just to see him again, just for the fans. Obviously he's dead, so it's not like he can come back in a movie, but we could see him in a flashback. I thought we were going to get one in Scream 6, didn't happen. So what if we get a flashback of Dewey in Scream 4 and he goes to see Stu? Let's say Stu is in an institution somewhere, which I will say I personally am not crazy about that idea. I more so like the idea that he's just in hiding, like living his life. But I do know a lot of fans out there like the idea that Stu is institutionalized. Because if you think about it, he was still a minor. I believe he was 17. And minors who commit crimes don't always go to jail. Sometimes they're institutionalized. And if his parents had money, they definitely could have, paid a judge or whatever to convince them that our son is just not mentally stable, so he needs to go away to an institution. So what if there's a flashback to Scream 4, Dewey goes to see him in the institution when the new attacks start happening, when the Scream 4 killings start up. Dewey asks Stu, what do you know about this? This needs to stop. I know you're behind this again. And then what if in this flashback it's revealed that Jill and Charlie are a part of Stu's cult? I love this idea for a lot of reasons. One, to see Dewey again, and then we could also see Jill and Charlie again in the form of a flashback. Because I love Emma Roberts and Rory Culkin. And both of them still look exactly the same. So they could definitely come back as a flashback. Emma Roberts has said that she feels she wasn't finished with Scream. Just imagine if we get to see Matthew Lillard, Emma Roberts, Rory Culkin all on screen again. The fans would go nuts. Because Scream 7, they really need to step it up and just blow us away. We don't need another new set of killers. We need to change up the formula. We've done it the same way 6 times. Let's change it up in Scream 7. So not only will we get, the first time a killer returns with Stu, but also the first time we'll get a flashback and see some past characters. Now, of course, Stu returning is going to blow everyone's minds, but I don't want them to stop there. I want to see a lot of crazy new revelations. I don't want, other ghost faces to also return in present day, because that's just too much, and it'll take away from Stu's return. But I would love to see them again in the form of a flashback, which will bring new info to light. Them being a part of Stu's cult. I just think that that's what these horror movies do after years and years. Let's find out new information about the past. Randy even says in his videotape in Scream 3, trilogies are all about going back to the past, back to the beginning, and finding out that something you thought was true isn't true. If we're going to consider these new Scream movies as a trilogy with 5, 6, and 7, that's what they need to do. They need to blow us away. But I want to know what you guys think about all of this. What do you think about my theory that Dewey knew Stu was alive all these years and Jill and Charlie were a part of Stu's cult? Leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. I love hearing from you guys. Please don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future posts. And you can also follow me over on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will see you guys in the next video.